Welcome to Blueprint Radio. I'm your host, Martin Williams. Here we help you create a blueprint for your life. So let's build. Welcome to Blueprint Radio. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S, wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. So today's topic is you already know what to do. Now, we all know that the self-help industry, the self-improvement industry is a billion-dollar industry. Lots of people are publishing books and audios and courses, and I'm a part of that industry as a coach. I'm a part of helping people to improve their lives. So some of this, I'm talking to myself, but I think that the direction of a lot of self-help is to give people tactics as opposed to empowering them to find the answers within themselves, because that's where the answers are always at, no matter who you are. So I believe that everyone already knows what to do. I really believe that you already know what to do. And if you are essentially looking for answers or looking for someone to tell you what to do, the best that they can do, whoever you end up listening to, is echo what's already in your mind and already in your heart. So there's four points that I wanted to make out of this particular topic. The first point is advice seeking wastes time. When I was looking for advice, when I first got married, when I married my first wife, I asked a lot of people for advice. I asked my mother, asked people in the church, asked family members, and they all gave me, pretty different answers. All right. And the reason that they gave me different answers is because they're different people, different backgrounds, and people can only advise you from their backgrounds and what they've been through, mainly. So I was looking for an answer as to whether this was the right time for me to get married, or even if this was the right person to get married to. Now, our marriage ended in divorce, and, I certainly played a role in that. But, the point is that it didn't work out. And the reason that it didn't work out is because I really shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. But the advice I was getting wasn't really clear. So instead of saying, you know what, I'm not going to do anything, which is what my now self would do, I decided to push forward with the attitude of what's the worst that can happen. And it turned out the worst that can happen was that I wasted years, and as an extension, I wasted someone else's years in a relationship that wasn't really meant to be and should not have been entered into. A lot of times we seek advice, but that advice seeking wastes valuable time and valuable energy because you're not acting from your true guide, right? The true guide, and I'm going to get to it in point 2, is this built-in GPS. That's the one that you should listen to. And that built-in GPS is 100% right every time, no exceptions. The only time that we mess up is that when we don't listen to that built-in GPS, right? Another example was to publish daily, to write daily. So I've been writing articles daily. I missed a day here and there for around like the past month. And it's been really good. I've been gaining traction on Medium and gaining traffic to my profile. And, all I have to do now is put a link in there so people actually have somewhere to go to learn more about what I do. And that'll happen. But my point is that I got the idea from Russell Brunson, who is the founder of ClickFunnels. Now, you might say, well, didn't you just tell us advice seeking wastes time? But let me augment that. I got the idea from Russell Brunson, but really it was an echoing of what I was doing before, because about 3 to 4 years prior, I was writing every day. I was publishing every day. I was writing every single day to a blog that virtually no one visited, no one went to, and no one knew about. I never shared my writing. I never told anyone about it. I never tried to set up anything or anything like that. But it was just a release for me. I was going through a lot at the time, and the writing was a release. But the point is that I was publishing already, and I was doing it daily, and then I stopped. So it wasn't that I got the idea from him. It just echoed what I had already been through and was already in me because I had already done it. And a lot of times what you'll find is that the right answers are usually just echoing what you've already been told. Has anyone ever told you something and you say, you know what, I was thinking about that? Yeah, your inner GPS was telling you to do it. You just weren't trusting that voice. So point number 2, let's talk about this built-in GPS. Now, I'm a Christian, so we call this built-in GPS the Holy Spirit, right? Some people call it intuition. Some people call it your spirit guide. Some people call it infinite intelligence, whatever name you give to it. It's this built-in GPS that leads you in the way that you should go. And it leads you in a way that is perfect, even though it doesn't appear perfect at the time, right? It's telling you what to do. And it's talking to you 24/7. The problem with a lot of people is that there's so much noise happening in our lives that we don't hear the GPS talking to us. So your GPS is telling you, imagine an actual GPS where, you're driving and, you have your phone connected to your car or what have you. And the GPS is telling you to turn right or turn left. But if you're blasting the music and you're not looking at the screen, right, you're not going to catch that turn. You're going to miss your turn because you weren't paying attention. Right? It doesn't mean that your GPS wasn't working. It just means that you weren't listening, right? You were distracted. You were overwhelmed with other things that were happening at the same time. And a lot of times what happens is that people blame the GPS, but the GPS is not the problem. The GPS is working fine. You just haven't in tuned your voice to that GPS, right? So what does the GPS sound like? That GPS has a still small voice. It will not shout at you. It will not scream at you. It will not wrangle you because you have free will, right? Your GPS in your car is not going to stop the car because you make a wrong turn, right? That GPS is going to tell you where to go, and it's up to you to decide whether you're going to go the way that it's telling you to go or you're going to go somewhere else. And you can always turn around, and you can always make a U-turn. You can always get back on the right path or track or what have you. But obviously, you're going to waste time, right? And you're going to waste gas because you went the wrong direction. And in life, it's the same way. That built-in GPS is telling you what to do, but if you don't know how to listen to it, it's a still small voice. Oftentimes, I believe God speaks through pictures, speaks through images, right? And so that, maybe there's something that you've been struggling with and you're not really sure what to do, but you're going to see those images flash sometimes. It'll flash and it'll remind you of what your path is. Like for me, it was writing. I was trying different things as far as what to do with my content to build up my coaching business and build up, my audience for courses. So I was doing podcasting. I tried a little bit of video, and the podcasting is cool. I like doing it. I'm not really crazy about video per se. That's just something I got to work through. But I eventually have to do it. But I really like writing. Of the 3 avenues to do content, I prefer to write over video and podcasting. So when I hit a wall with my content earlier this year, I realized, you know what, I need to get back to writing because I've really enjoyed that. And it's something that I do think I'm good at. Am I a master writer? No, but I do think that I'm good at writing. I do think that writing is something that I can do effectively and I can communicate effectively. So that was kind of like a reminder to me to get back into that, to get back into that thing that I know that I'm good at, that I know that I should be doing, but I wasn't doing. So, that GPS it'll give you a sign. It'll speak to you sometimes. Sometimes it will speak through other people, but it's not advice. It's basically, echoing what is already inside of you, what you've already been talking about. That inner voice has already been talking to you about it. So the third point that I want to make is that you know a whole lot more than you think. A lot of times people don't want to take a chance. They don't want to step out into a business idea, or, maybe it's a nonprofit. Maybe you want to start a ministry. Maybe you want to ask somebody out or what have you. And, you don't have, you feel like you don't have enough information. You feel like you don't know enough. That's not really the case. You really know more than you think you do. Most people underestimate their knowledge base. They underestimate how much they know. And it's something that I think we've all done at some point. I think we've all been at a place where we thought that we didn't know what to do, or we didn't know the path that we should go on. And we really knew a lot more than we thought. I know in my job, when I first started my job, I felt so lost. And I felt, that, man, this is so much that I need to pick up on. And how are these people able to do all these things and do them so fast and do them at a level that's so much higher than where I'm at. And really, I had to start, improving my self-talk as far as, just stop talking down on myself, number one. But also, number two, is that I'm here for a reason. Okay, they hired me for a reason. They hired me because they felt I could do the job. Now, what does it look like that these people have more faith in me than I do? Right? That doesn't make sense. Right? So I had to realize, what, I'm smart. Like and I know I was smart, but I'm more than capable of doing this job. There's no reason why I can't do this job and do it at a high level, right? There's this quote from the show Billions. It comes on Showtime. I haven't seen it in a few years. Maybe one of these days I'll catch up on it. But in the pilot, there's a mental skills coach that works in the hedge fund of the main character, right? And she says to one of the traders, she says that, you're in the special forces, right? You're a Navy SEAL. And so she said, did the SEALs make a mistake by choosing you? She said, no, the SEALs don't make mistakes. And that's kind of how I feel in my job. I feel like I'm in the special forces. There aren't people that can come off the street and do what I do. And I'm not saying that to brag, but, my job is complex. It's not something that the average person can just come off the street and do within a day or so. It takes training. And, there's something to be said. And your job is probably the same way. I don't know what you do, obviously, but, your job is something that you can do at a higher level than most people. And that's the way that you got to think about it. You got to think like, hey, I'm in the special forces of therapists, or I'm in the special forces of web designers or graphic designers. I'm in the top 5%. There aren't too many people that can do what I do. And you have to have that confidence about yourself, right? And if you can learn that, you can learn anything. If you can learn how to, change a tire, then you can learn how to start a business. You can learn how to do everything that you need to do to push your life forward, right? You know a lot more than you think. And you have the ability to learn even more. Like you're not done learning just because you finished school. There's so much more that you can do. The last piece, the last part of what I wanted to talk about is when people give you advice, understand that they're giving you advice from where they are. Your path is going to look different in most cases, right? I'm not saying don't read self-help books. I'm not saying don't listen to self-help podcasts. I mean, this is a self-help podcast. I'm not saying don't listen to the podcast, but just understand, just because it may have taken them 8 years to break through whatever they broke through doesn't mean it has to take you 8 years. Okay? It took them 8 years because they were on a different path. Maybe their inner GPS was speaking to them. Not maybe, it was speaking to them, but maybe they took the wrong turn and continually took the wrong turn and continually made mistakes before they finally got it right. Just because it took them a long time doesn't mean it has to take you a long time. I had a client who was in his mid-20s, and the young man is extremely mature for his age. He's gotten so many things figured out already, and it's really amazing because I remember when I was 25, I had none of that stuff figured out, right? And a lot of what we talked about were things that he had already recognized within himself. And he was, basically affirming what I was saying and saying, yeah, I've been thinking about that, right? So he's already listening to his inner GPS. He's already listening to, the Holy Spirit speak to him. And it was amazing to me that, I know that his path is going to be different than mine because he's got a lot more things figured out at this age than I do, than I did at his age, rather. Everyone's path is different. So don't, when you see someone online who's successful, first off, you don't know the path that they took. Second off, you don't know the mistakes they made. And third off, your inner GPS has a path that's specifically designed for you. And the best thing that I can do for you is not tell you my path, right? I mean, I can share my mistakes and some of the things that I would do differently, but the best thing I can do for you is to help you find your path, because your path is specifically designed for you. And, the scriptures say that the road to hell and destruction is a wide path, but the road to, essentially heaven is a narrow path. And what I've taken that to mean is that it's a narrow path because only you're supposed to be on it. No one else is supposed to be on that path but you. God has a path that's specifically for you, specifically built for you, that you've got to walk down. You can't walk down everyone else's path. You got to walk down yours. So you got to figure out, what is the path? What is God saying to me? What is my inner GPS saying to me? How do you listen for the inner GPS? The best way to do it is to meditate. You should meditate every single day. I don't care if it's for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is better than nothing. Meditate, get quiet, and listen to that inner GPS. Like I said, 5 minutes, if that's all you have, then do that. 15 minutes is optimal, and then build up to 30 minutes. And as you do that, you're going to start hearing things that maybe you were hearing sporadically. Maybe you were hearing words here and there because of the amount of noise that was going on in your mind. You're going to start hearing complete sentences. You're going to start hearing plans. You're going to start getting things from that inner GPS, knowledge from that inner GPS that you weren't getting before. And you're going to be able to make better decisions as a result. So you already know what to do. Stop saying, I don't know what to do. You already know what to do. Start moving on the thing that you know. Start getting quiet so you can hear more. And then when you hear it, do it. My name is Martin Williams. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Blueprint Radio. For more information on Martin Williams coaching and products, please go to guidedexpressions.com or visit me on Facebook as well as Instagram.